Good morning, everyone. Now we are ready to solve our third third question of the contest of 383, weekly contest 383, which is find the grid of region average. So, what does the question say? The question says that you have been given with an M into N grid, which is called image, which represent a grayscale image where image ij represent a pixel with intensity range 0 to 235 0 to 255. Okay, you are also given a non-native integer threshold, 2 pixels. Image a comma b and image c comma d are set to be adjacent if the absolute difference is not is equals to 1. Okay, so okay, get it. So 5 adjacents are 6 and 8. These are the adjacents to 5. Yeah, same thing. Okay, what is a region? A region is a 3 into 3 subgrid where the absolute difference in the intensity between any two adjacent pixels is less than or equal to threshold. So a grid is such a thing is a 3 into 3. Grid is a 3 into 3 submatrix in which the absolute difference between any two numbers inside that grid is not more than it, it's not more than the threshold. Okay, get it? So you need to calculate 0 indexed m into n grid result, where result ij is the average intensity of the region to which image ij belong. Okay okay so you need to calculate m into grid result, where result ij is the average intensity of the region to which so what is the result ij? So result ij is the value of the average of the grid in which 5 belong. Actually, it's not just the average, it's the average of the grids 5 belong. For example, in this case we can see that 9 belongs to two grid, which is this one and this one. So the average, what is going to be the result of 9 of this position? It's going to be the average of this grid and the average of this grid combined, and then the average of the two averages. So is it's also explained here. The first average comes to be the first average, I mean the average of this grid comes to be 9, and the average of the second grid comes to be 9.67, which is then rounded off to 9, and then the averages of the two average becomes 9 plus 9, 18 by 2, that is also equals to 9. So that's what we have to do. So it's just a simple but a lengthy question. So let's try to solve it. How are we gonna solve it? Somebody think, somebody. We just, I think we should use, we should store first off. I think what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make a grid of the same dimension of like our image, on the same dimension of image. Okay, and for every element I'll be storing a list. So I'll be making a list of, I mean a grid of lists, a matrix of list. So for every element I'll be declaring a empty matrix, empty string, empty list, and then I'll be calculating the average of every grid, and I'm gonna be appending it to the matrix. So in this case, for in the above case, in the case of the first first image case, I mean the first test case, for 9, the values in the list are going to be 9 comma 9, and then at the end we will be calculating the average of the grids, and then we are going to be replacing the average with the list. Okay, I mean we are going to be replacing the list with the average. So let's jump to the code. Now we'll be starting to write the code. So what do we need? First off, we need an empty list. which is going we gonna making it a matrix of lists. So how are gonna be doing, so how can we do it? So for I in range, for I in range, what, I in range of length of image, length of image, yeah, and for j in range of length of image 0, I mean they. Now what do we need? Okay, we also need a temporary matrix, temporary list, whatever you can call TL, which is going to be an empty list, and TL will be appended with another list. So yeah, and after this for loop we will be appending TL to our answer list. So let's print our answer, and just to show you guys what are we making. So we have made a list or a grid of lists, or a matrix of lists. Let's return an empty string, empty list. So yeah, you can see I have made a grid of grids. The each element have a grid, each element have a list, grid of lists. So we have prepared our stage. Now we are ready to store the averages of regions. So okay, so first off we have to check for every element that is that a region, or for every region, I mean for every 3 into 3 grid, we have to check that is does this satisfy the condition to be a region, which is the absolute difference if of two adjacent elements should not be greater than threshold. So we have to check that thing for every regions, right? So how can we, we have to give an ID to every region, right? So every region starts with a starting point, which is going to be this, right? So for every region has a starting point, I mean the top left corner. So the top left index can be used as an identification for every region. So that's what we are going to be using. So we will be declaring a function, or is we'll be declaring a function that's named is region, and we'll be passing the ID of every region, that is going to be ij, which is the top left corner index of every region. And this function will be returning true if that 3 into 3 grid satisfies the conditions to become a region. If it will return true, and if it does not satisfy, it will return false. So how are we going to check this? So we will have to check the differences of all the adjacent elements in this grid. So for that we need a for loop for ip. Let's declare ip here, ip instead of ip in range 3. We have to travel 3, you know because we have all the regions are of size 3 into 3, 3x3. So we have to traverse 3 times, yeah, for j in sorry for jp in range 3. So now let's imagine we have a grid here. Sorry, yeah, so we have a grid here, right? So we are this is I comma j. Now we have to check all the adjacent element, like these two, these two, these two, these two, these two, all the elements absolute difference should not exceed the threshold. We have to check this, right, for all the pairs, adjacent pairs. That's what we will be doing here. And we also have to keep in mind that after reaching this position, we cannot go this, we cannot check with this position, because this is going to be outside our of our grid, of our you know 3 into 3 region, so we cannot go outside this region, we have to check inside this region, right? So that's what we will be doing. So first off, we will be checking if our I plus IP is IP plus 1, I think, yeah, is less than I plus 3. So if this is less than I plus 3, or we can do it like this, if this is less than equals to I plus 3, any way you like. So if this satisfies this condition, that means we are, we are not checking the elements outside the grid, right? We are inside the grid. So currently, if we, in this case, we are somewhere in this position to check with the next element. We cannot check, we are at this position to with the position which is just at the, just at the downside of it. Okay, so here we have to check if the element just below the current element, which is ip comma ij, I mean I plus ip comma j plus jp, the element just below that index is, the difference is less than threshold. We have to check that. So after checking that we are not at the bottom, we have to be at least one element above the bottom to check the element below us. So we will check that abs of image, image I plus ip and j plus jp minus image of I plus ip plus 1. We have to check an element which is just below us, plus 1 with j plus jp, right? So this is the element. For example, if this, if this is our grid and 3 into 3 grid, and if this thing belongs to here, represent this, then this part will represent this. Now we are checking that the difference between these two is not greater than, the difference is less than or equals to threshold. Actually, we have to check if it's greater than threshold or threshold. If this is the case, then simply return false. So yeah, if this is the case, if this does not satisfy the condition, we'll be returning false here. And same thing we will be doing once again, just a slight change. Now we will be, checking for all these elements now, and for that we just need to edit this just a little bit. So here for I, we just have to change I with j. I should be j, I should be j, should be j. Same thing, not here, not here. Yeah, so in this case they should be added to the jth part. So I think, yeah, I think it's all right. Yeah, let me check if I did something wrong. Did I do something wrong? I don't think so. Yeah, it looks good. Now if we never returned false, that means we can now return true. So return should be, that means that our, you know our region was a true region. I mean, our 3 into 3 grid, which we were checking, is a region. So we have successfully made the is region function just to check if it's working. Okay, we don't need to check it. We'll check if any error occurs. We'll definitely be checking it at the end. Now what do we need? So now we have made a function which checks that yes, is it a region or it is not a region. Now we also need a function that will give us the average of the region. So again, we will be, we need a function avgregion, average region, or you can say average of a region. So we will be passing the IDs of the region, which are going to be I and j, right? And this function will return us the average of a particular 3 into 3 grid, 3x3 grid, which we have already checked. After checking, we'll be passing it, right? So this function just returns us the average of a 3 into 3 grid. Yeah, so let's do it. So let's do it, right? We will be checking it. So how do we need to check? We'll just calculate the sum, and then we will be dividing the sum by 9. So we'll need s equals to 0, and for I in range 3, sorry, IP, or why shouldn't we just copy this part and paste it here? So for IP, and yeah, same thing, and s plus equals to image of I plus IP j plus jp. Yeah, so this, and at the end we have to return the average, which is going to be s divided by 9, right? So we have a function that returns us the average of a 9, sorry, of a 3 into 3 submatrix, or a 3 into 3 grid. Okay, now we are ready with the average, we are ready with the is. Now we will be running a for loop, which will be, traveling with from each element, and it will be checking if the region starting from that element is a region. I mean the 3 into 3 grid starting from that element is a region, and if it is a region, then we will be calculating the average of that region, and then we will be appending that average value to all the elements you know that come inside that region in the answer matrix. So that's what we will be doing here. I hope you guys are getting what I'm trying to explain. So now we're ready to, write a for loop for I in range. So we can travel till, but we have to stay 2 steps backwards, right? Because we need to make a 3x3 grid, so we have to be 2 steps backwards so that we can make a grid, else we'll be, going outside our image matrix. Then we will be getting an error which will tell us that index out of range, list index out of range, that kind of error. Okay, so yeah, and we need another loop for j in range of length of image 0, right? And -2 again. Yes, now we will be checking if is region, so we'll be checking if the grid starting from that index is a region. If it is a region, then we'll be calculating the average of that region. So to calculate that average, we have already made a function here. We'll be calculating the average of that region, and after calculating the average, we need to add that average to all the elements of the answer grid, right? All the elements of that region to the answer grid. So yeah, now we also need another function, and that function will be add avg, add average. So it will be just adding the averages of that region to all the elements, all the indexes of the elements in that region in our answer grid. So yeah, that's it. That's what we are going to be doing. So we need to pass I and j as an id, and also the value of x, which we just calculated. So yeah, so we need it, and it will also run a for loop for ip in, or I should rather just copy this, just does this, and answer of I plus ip and j plus jp dot append x, it will be appended with x. So yeah, we also need to add average I comma j and x. So now we have called that. That means now I'll just print the value of our, I'll just print our answer grid, just to show you guys, just to show you guys what we have at this position, just to show you guys what we have at this position. Okay, so list index out of range. We have an error at line 13. What are we doing at line 13? Line 13, it shows that we are doing something illegal. So what is the illegal thing? Okay, are we really doing something illegal? Yeah, we doing an illegal thing here. We should be, adding only 2 here. I think now we are not doing anything illegal. ABS threshold is region. List index out of range again. So list index out of range again. I'll have to check what are we doing wrong here. Okay, get it, sir, get it. No need to worry. Now let's check. Yeah, we were, getting list index out of range because we were trying to assess elements those are out of our grid. So here we think we did something wrong. Yeah, so now we are just checking if that is not outside the required grid. Yeah, get it. Yeah, get it. Okay. Basically, we had to check that if this thing is inside our grid. So I can, just to make you guys understand, I can write it like this also. If this thing is inside our grid, so when we evaluate, we will be getting to, yeah, like this. So yeah, it's working properly now. So as you can see now, in our answer grid, we have all the averages of the regions. For example, for this index, for the which is with the for the position at which the 10 this number resides, for this position, all the regions which all the regions in which this position is a part of, we need to calculate the averages, right? So the same index of the answer grid contains all the averages of the regions of which that particular index is a part of. So now we are almost done. What we'll be doing is we'll be just replacing we'll be just replacing the list with the average of the list. Okay, so for this index for this element, we'll be replacing it by 9 because the average of 9 comma 9 is 9. So yeah, again we'll be needing a true for loop like this one. Which one? Like, okay, we can use this and we will be editing it. So we need a for loop which will run through all the elements, and answer of I j will be equals to sum of answer I j divided by length of answer I j. So answer of I j will be replaced by the average of answer of I j, and that is going to be our answer eventually. That's why I named it answer. Yeah, I think we need one thing to keep in mind. There are also, we can also see that in some cases there is going to be an empty list, right? So then we'll be dividing 0 with an empty list. That should not happen, right? So we also have to check if this thing is not equal to 0, then only we can perform this, right? And if we don't have any region for that particular index, we need to just append, just replace the answer. What does the question say? If image ij does not belong to any region, return ij. Return result ij is equals to image of ij. Okay, so we just need this. So yeah, so if it does not belong to any region, then answer of I j will be equals to image of I j. So image spelling is right. Yeah, let's try to run it again. Again we invalid syntax. At what line? Line 40. We have an invalid syntax. Yeah, so we just a bracket short of a bracket. Okay, yeah, now we see that our solution is running properly, no errors. I'll just get rid of these prints, or else it might show print limit exceeded or output limit exceeded. Yeah, now let's try to submit it. Everybody pray to God. Okay, so we have a successful submission. I hope you understand this was a quite a lengthy question. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and like.